Okay, we are now recording, so now I'm gonna share the screen so you can have a look. Is everybody connected to feed?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
All right. Cool. Brilliant. So give us a second. Sometimes people, for some reason, sometimes just goes into like loading and never loads up. Okay. So what I've done so far. You remember when I told you about the pipe thing, that painful thing? Well, yeah, definitely I did it. So it was very painful to do all these pipes, and I think I built the whole thing with just this thing there. So all the pipes you see in there, they're only built with this, which is one of these to change the size from something thinner to something bigger, or vice versa, and then one to just create the connections. One with this, which is just for creating the connection between big things, like big chunks. There is another one that I have here. Let me just isolate this. So I got I got a ring as well, which is just for making a small connection. I got the pipe that I told you, the corner, which is just a turn. Uh, the that joint thing that I told you just now, these little flanges here, just to make the connections, and then just the another thicker pipe just to make another connection. So with this, I went on and I created the whole thing. So I think I used my reference. I got the reference here, and I got another angles, and I got other reference in these sections. I think it's somewhere. I think I know I moved them there. You see, I got another connection there. I got another things, different angles to help me. So that helped me a lot to just say, well, okay, this is roughly what it looks like. But because again, like I told you at the beginning, I don't have an exact thing how these things are laid out, and as well, every time I analyze some of these images, and every time the image is different, they change the pipes because obviously it's a movie set, so they have room to do that. So I just sort of kept it to roughly what I think it will be okay. For example, this pipe that goes up like that, and this, I don't even know where it goes, so I just don't want to start figuring out where it goes, trying to rewatch the film for that. Because I left room for me for just saying, I'm gonna put this in here. I think that looks okay or not. So I went there and I put all the pipes in there. So I'm just gonna go into here, into this lift mode and the buffer visualization, so we can see just the normal section. You can see it better. So you can see I put all those pipes. So everything you saw there, everything you see here in terms of the pipes, I think as well, just in case to be a bit more organized, you see that lows, I put everything inside an individual sort of folder, so I can actually, hide them individually if I want to. So mm, yeah, I think it's the concrete area. So everything is in folder here: the blockout, cameras, concrete structures, decal, lighting. As you can see, I'm quite organized. I think because of this, because if I don't do this, guys, I among all this chaos, it's gonna give me a headache. So I already got a headache so far, so I don't want any more. So again, like I said in the section here, so in pipes, I made sure. I hate about this in Unreal. I don't know why they haven't fixed. Every time you click something, it opens everything. Yeah? So I don't want that to open. You see, it opens that stuff and just it's annoying. So here I got the pipes, which is that section. So you can see I just place them around and I board them. I didn't go exactly like this one is exactly 100 units and this is all the 100 units. I just eyeballed them and I just use the going from the top view and then trying to match them on this side and things like that. I didn't go exactly. So at the moment this pipe has the same shader as this one's. You see that this one don't have any artifact, but this one they do. That's because the UVs are slightly different. So I just use it so I can have something in there, which I shouldn't have really because I could have left it just with the lambert, so it would be easy to place. So when I did the placement, I used this sort of buffer visualization because it's easier for me to see instead of having the normal leaf mode, which I cannot see very well. So for that, I decided to just do my placement using one of the buffer visualization. It's easy. Or you can just do the lighting only. That's, I think the light now. I think it's lighting only. You can do lighting only. But still, it's quite dark. Or you have to go into buffer and the post processing volume, and then just increase the toes and all that, and clicking. You can get something that you can work with. But you can see here that it's quite. It looks from this angle, it looks quite populated, which is roughly what I'm aiming at with the reference. You see with the reference quite busy around there. So still some sections here, but I haven't set out the lighting properly or anything like that. So at the moment, even this lighting, every time it changes, every time there is a different mood in the scene, it changes. You see, it changes here, go from there. Now this one's completely different. Now this light in a song is seeing appear, and song is seeing dawn. So I'm gonna have to, you see now they have 6 lights in here. I think this is roughly the lighting that normally is like more predominant. I think this one when it's not 100% working, and this is when there is a full working. It's open in the daytime, it's in the night. So I might create 2 lighting scenarios or something. So having done that, then I have placed everything what I wanted. I created, like I said, those few elements, and I'm ready to go. So I think for this asset is this huge asset, which is all set up in this individual folder. All these assets you see there, that asset there is going to be painted. It's going to be textured using Substone Designer, and the same technique that I use in that. So when I do my texture for this, which probably will take me a few days, then I will go through how I did them with you guys, the elements that I tried to find, my reference, how I did it, and all that, and then I went and I go and I'm going to explain to you how I painted all this together, and I will talk to you about decals. I will talk to you about the merging inside Substone Painter and how I did that, and in Substone Designer, and it should be all good to go. Okay, so what is next? Okay, so I got this element. I got this set up. So now I'm gonna start with the first thing I do is just do my references. So I think what I did, for example, as I use an example, the concrete. I went there and I started grabbing concrete references, just concrete references. For example, I like this, and that's pretty much one of the main ones that I use for my concrete. I like this connections, this stuff as well. It brought me a lot of detail and things that I wanted. For example, that this brushes thing that you find in the walls. This I like because when they do these prefabs, they do put wood to just as a framing or element. So sometimes they use metal, sometimes they use wood, and sometimes some of these planks or some of these connections they do have like the wood pattern in there, and that's why I sort of do a little bit of those scratches and things like that in the paint. So just to I mean, I even saw some of them that have the patterns like this because they have used wood. I think the most commercially available, probably more efficient, is metal. You can see here these patterns are based, and these are the way the connection of those planks. So I downloaded all these references, and then as well when I was doing the decals on the floor as well, I put reference so I can know how the lines are chipped, depth, and things. To say, okay, this is not 100% what's it called, straight lines. To say, okay, so there's like foot thing. I said, well, that's okay, but I'm not gonna put that. It's too much. I said, okay, nobody gonna notice that, so that's fine. So and then one thing as well, when I was doing the rubber on the swimming pool, I then found rubber, and then I just found this little, for example, little chip thing happening here. The little like flake things like white, I put that in the rubber, and that's why it looks quite believable. So if you think about this rubber, if you zoom in here, you can see that in the material here, there goes some little white bits here and there, and believe it or not, those things, when you see it from this angle, from this sort of it does sell. You see this stuff is black. It looks black in there, but it's not 100% black. You can see it, and you got these little white things here everywhere. But then when you put all the elements together, it just sells it, And that is part of you guys. That's something you have to do in terms of viewing and then finding good references, analyzing, breaking down the elements of the reference, and then trying to recreate them in Substance, And there are a ton of knows how to do that in Substance. So there's loads, okay? I think I did as well. This section is what I really start texturing. So I'm gonna start texturing this. I just put the again. Do you remember the same thing that I did here? The same stuff I did here. So I reuse the same material for that. And then at the moment I go temporarily assign into this section here. This section here, the same material that I use for painting this desk. Okay, the ladder here. So it's the same material you can see here. So once I did that, okay, so I said, okay, I'm gonna start analyzing my reference. Then I need to start finding reference for this. So like I said, I was going from every element. You can see that this is the tank section. I'm gonna start and I just look at reference. Okay, how the texture is painted. I like these chippings like this. I like the fact that it has several layers. It has rust, but it looks quite polished because it's being in the outdoors. There's not much rust in terms of like building up. I like these sections like this, these bubbles and things like that, holes. These are like paint dripping and things like that. So I'm gonna gather more references for that, and then start working on those elements. So the same thing when I was modeling the pipes, and this is the one I used for doing that sort of there that I just show you here. And then here, this is the stuff that I was using when I was doing the grid thing. So I was thinking about doing this section, but this section is completely unnecessary because it was just not really something that it's gonna show. And again, reference the paint, the bubble paint. I'm gonna be using this for the paint of the bubbles, the blistering. This is a guide for picking up the colors for PBR that I'm gonna show you real quick in a minute. So again, you see the steps are here. Reference, guys. It's always so important as well. I found this with paint, one material to say, but this is some elements that are quite interesting, but I'm not going to use it 100%. So again, every time I do, for example, this is for the tiles and for things like from the set of the movie, as well how it was painted, and I'm going to be using this for the stuff, for the actual element that I'm going to be producing. For this, I'm going to create like a kit batch thing that I'm going to be able to put all these randomly. I'm thinking about doing this in Houdini by creating the assets in Maya, and then Houdini will allow me to just put them all together, and then just with one click of the button and slide, I can just change different combinations, and I can have different arrangement of buttons and things without me having to go and place them one by one. So I can just go do it. When in the medical area section, I'm going to be using this as a reference just for the modeling, because these are quite old school sort of sanatorium sort of things for like for reference, a very old hospital. This I use for the floor as well. This is a very good reference for the floor. For the floor as well, I was always debated between the dry part and the wet part and just shiny things. So sometimes the movie is very wet, sometimes the movie is quite dry, and that depends on what they're doing. At the moment, this one is quite sort of shiny, wet. Anyway, you have to find a compromise. You will not be able to hit the spot on every single scenario. So once you've gathered the reference, then you can start doing your substance. Now I'm going to go through substance now. I think I'm going to show you the automatic saving system that I'm going to talk to you in a second about. So, but for now, I'm going to go through that in a second, and then I'm going to show you how to do the automatic thing. So what I'm going to do is I have all my substance. This is the way I have my projects set up. I've got the Unreal section here and the Unreal here, which is for me for the substance designer and all that. So, and I got here as well the tile reference that we were talking about last week, flat or in the side or the 256 thing. But I decided to go for the 300 by 300. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so and I got things like this is a reference that I have, and this is the tileable materials. So I'll break it down into concrete, electric material, the green tiles, and the metals. Okay, and things like that. So I'm quite organized in those things because that's so you know where you're gonna put your asset. You know? So the substance paint a unique asset as well. I got the grating thing that I told you with the that's just for the baking. So I go here the high, the low, and for example the full ladder as well. You got the FDX high, low, and all that. Plus as well all the substance painted as well, and my savings of the textures, so I don't get confused. I never save them inside the substance source files here. I always put everything that is the output from all these sections I normally don't put them in here. You can see there is no TGAs or JPEGs or PNGs in here. I always go automatically into my folder structure here, into source file, and then here I will do something similar. I will go into texture, I'm breaking down into all the elements. Okay, things like, you know, for example, like concrete, I will have all the concretes in here individually for what I need, so I don't have to go and start, oh my god, I put it here, or the final, that I've seen you so many times. Guys, stop doing that. Organize your files once and that's it. You don't have to worry about that. So source file is a folder where you put everything that is FBX, textures, everything that you're going to be as a source file you're going to be using in your project. And then at the end, if you turn this to a game, all you have to do is take this folder out from here, and then you just put it out somewhere else, and then you just compile the game or whatever, and then you don't have to bloat the game with all this folder, because this folder at some point gets quite big. You can see this is just 1.8 gig, just that. So just remember that the way Unreal Engine works is that every time you import a asset or texture, whatever, it will automatically convert them into something inside. I think you can see that everything content. If you go here, content, you say, for example, textures. For example, here, for example, pool area, you can see that everything is converted automatically into a folder, or into a file called uAsset, which is a proprietary asset or proprietary file extension that is optimized to use Unreal Engine 4. So every time you put an FBX, it automatically converts it into a uAsset. So it's like just a file that is only read by Unreal Engine 4. So you can keep things like that and then just take them out, and then everything will be working fine. So the the next thing that I do, and I always do this in Unreal, is that I set up my automatic saving system. Okay. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to, in my source files, here I got several. At the moment I got one for my asset and one for my textures. Skies, I think I imported this just for me to play around, but I never use it because it's a nighttime door. References, I got all the stuff that I used at the beginning when I was doing the referencing, or bringing the things as in the original one, block out. Then here I will have all the assets, and you can see this is all the assets that I have. All the assets FBX that you have inside that, they are right here. So at the moment I got one link to this and one link to that. Now these are, as in, we cannot say physical folders because they're not real physical folders, they're just Windows folders. These are the Explorer folders, okay? So let's call this Windows folders, okay? Which are, they do live in your hard drive, they do live inside a section in your project, okay? So these are folders that you create. You can right click here and create new, and you create a folder. You all know that. Now when you go into Unreal, you have folders as well, but these folders are called, I don't know, let's call them logical folders. So that folder that only exists within this project. So you will not find this, for example, started content with this thing. Necessarily, you will not find them directly into your project. Not necessarily. These are the stuff that I have here to organize my work. The same as here, this sort of system of folders. They're just logical. This is for the level of the scene, for the world, and this is for you, for the content. This is for keeping things organized. So at the moment, I have a connection that connects this texture folder, okay, with this texture folder. Okay, so those two are connected at the moment, which means that every time I put something in here new, or update something that I have here in this folder, Unreal Engine picks it up and flags it and says, hey, there's been a change in the stuff that you've been asking to look for. Do you want to import it? And they say yes, and import it. You don't have to go right click, re-import, none of that stuff. It takes you, those things add up, There's a second here and there, and they start up and you get repetitive and bored. So at the moment I have a connection between the logical texture folder inside the project and the Windows folder inside the actual hard drive. Okay, so I have those connections, and I have as well, like I said, I got I think it's the geometry, okay, which I import all the geometry, and I think I left it that way because I know that here I don't remember how to change the size of the icons, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, so at the moment here I have meshes. Meshes. This is where I put everything, and I got everything in here like block out, building, structure, and so at the moment I have geometry, okay, which is the stuff that I have here on top, linked to assets. You can see the asset doesn't have a folder structure. So for me, it was like not necessarily to follow all that folder structure. It's too complicated. So I said, you know what, I'm just gonna put everything in asset. Every time I make the connection between asset and geometry, so the folder inside Windows and the logical folder inside Unreal Engine 4, everything doesn't go into the respective meshes that I have here. It goes into this section. So I know that everything I find something here, I say, oh, that stuff has to be imported. So I move into the right, I move into the world, and then I put it into the right folder. Okay, so that's me. And a little bit extra step up to keep me a little bit sanity, so I don't get confused where things are. Okay, so once I have that connection, then it will be easier for me to make the changes and make the connections in terms of my, okay, so I know that this stuff, for example, here I left it here because it's just something that I do for something else or was testing. And then here, every time something comes out here, I drag it into here. Okay, I drag it into here, into the respective sort of folder that I know. Now, for example, I got the stuff in block out, which is the old stuff. You can see here, very old stuff. I got the stuff which is building structure, which is the things that I just put in the walls and the floors. Okay, and this is, for example, the main tank. Everything that is in the main tank is in here. You can see I can main tank got an extra folder, which is okay. I kept the pipes as well in a separate, so I know exactly how to take them. So I know where they are. And then this is when I was doing a pipe system with Houdini, but I just scratched all the time. So the swimming pool, I got everything that is related to the swimming pool in here, all the building assets, including the pipes and the things in the wall. And the things in the wall, you can see that it's just the pipe. You see the wall, the simple. This is the thing in the wall. This is the pool. Torture area is a single asset because it's just one asset. Okay, so I keep things like that. So how do I do these connections? These connections are done here in the, you go into edit and you go into editor preferences. Okay, and in here, you go into the section that says loading and saving. You create it here. It's called auto reimport, and this is monitor content directories. So this one, you tell the system, hey, monitor this directories that I'm going to put in here. Okay, so by default, you only will have probably one. If you open this one, 0, which is game, it doesn't have anything. You open here, it just have, this is a stuff that comes built in. Okay, I don't know, this is just part of the system. And then here you create your own. So you can see here that in here I have, this is what I put the Windows folder. Okay, so say, hey, in asset, link asset to the game / geometry, which is the one that is here, this one. And then here I said link textures with the game's texture, which is this one. So those two monitors are being connected. So those two folders are being connected and then being monitored by Unreal Engine constantly. So every time a chain happens, it automatically triggers a flag and then tells you, do you want to report it? Okay. So, like I said, even though I move the assets to, for example, in geometry, if I move the asset to here, it automatically will always keep, because if I do the once it's imported, it knows that it's connected and say, okay, so because I put it, for example, let's say in swimming pool, it's fine. I did the connection, I moved it there. You know that stuff is connected to the asset in the FBX. The changes happen. You re-import it, you automatically fix it up, and then you replace whatever you did. You can change the UVs, change the original geometry, do whatever you want. So how do you add these things? So what we can do is here, just to test it. So we can put here, I'm going to create a new folder. Okay, so I don't want to have it. So I can probably move it around contents here, and I got it in Where did I move it, man? Gone somewhere, I don't even know where it is. Did I move it to geometry? Anyway, so you know that it's only a 5 here. So it's here, and I'm just gonna press F2, and I'm just gonna rename this, and I'm gonna call this test. Okay. And then so I know that I have here a folder, so I'm gonna go the same here, and I'm gonna just for testing things out. I'm gonna put it here in the folder, and I'm gonna call it the same. So you can call it whatever you want. Test, and then I'm gonna make the connection between test and thing. And this is what we're gonna put the stuff that we're gonna be doing in Substance in a minute. Okay. So how do you do that? You go into the editor here and auto import, loading and saving, make sure that it's monitored, and then here you already have two. You can have as many as you want. All you have to do is click this plus button, and it will add an element. You can see now you have 1, 2, 3, and now the fourth. And then here I'm gonna make that connection that I just told you, which is it's in source file and test. So I'm gonna link test with, and I open this stuff in here. I'm gonna click this browser, which is the map directory 2. Okay, and I said I'm gonna link it to test, and that's it. So now every time I put something in test, it automatically tell me, hey, something happened. Do you want to import it? And yeah, we can test it with just a simple FBX. Let's try go back here, and I'm just going to take, I don't know, this one, which is the tileable thing. So I'm gonna put it in the center. You know that you have to put it in the center of the world, so it doesn't have any offset. Because if you have something like here, you automatically the pivot will be here in the center in the world. So you know that in Unreal. I'm pretty sure you all have come across the situation and you really understand what's happening. So I'm gonna put it here, and I'm just gonna go here, Sport Selection. I put it here as a button automatically in the shell. And then I'm going to go ahead and then put it here as test, and I'm just gonna call this test. I don't know, just Greek. Okay, and I'm just gonna put it. I'm just gonna export it. Nothing fancy. So let's go back to Unreal. See what happened. See, I didn't save anything here because this stuff automatically saves. So I'm gonna close it. You can see already flagged it. But I changed the source content folder have been detected. Say import. Okay, go here into the sections, say import. It automatically is in the folder, look, green. Okay, and then you can just grab and put it whatever you want. Okay, so this is how you can keep working. So for example, if you got it there, but then you just move it to another folder, it doesn't make any difference because you automatically always pick it up. So for example, if you go into Maya and do some changes to this, I don't know, I say, well, actually, this is too small, I want it bigger. Okay, so you can take this. I think you don't need to create transformation, but let's test it. So I'm going to take this, I made it bigger. I put creep, actually, it's creep. Oh, sorry, creep, yeah. I'm blind today. Sport selection, do you want to replace it? Yes. And then here I said, hey, something happened. You want to import it now. This one here, it automatically applies, you see? You don't have to do much. Okay, so the same goes back. Let's put this back the way it was. I don't want to mess around with this. And I'm just going to put it all the way to the way it was, because this is how my things here are aligned, so I know what I am. It's all done, and I'm working with this, and I'm going to keep putting it to the right, to the left, until I know that everything is done. So, the same with the textures. You can do the same inside the test. I'm going to put something with Substance Painter, and then automatically Substance Designer, and then automatically we will be able to actually get that sorted. So just as a thing, so I can just go back into, let's go back into Unreal, and I'm just going to delete this, force delete. And it really the stuff, right? Even the references that you have in the view. Okay. So now does everybody understand what I just did in terms of making the connections with Unreal and the Windows folder? Has anybody got a question? Or somebody's actually paying attention to this, or sleeping, or snoring? I can hear people snoring actually.
The stream is a little blurry for me. Like I can't read a lot of the file names.
Yeah, same here. It happens with live share, but when it's uploaded on YouTube, it's gonna be
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
it'll be tight. All right.
Oh, and YouTube will be fine. Here will be just. I just wanted to know if the logic that I just explained makes sense.
Yeah, the logic makes sense. It's just I can't read like any of the file
Yeah.
paths or anything like that.
I don't know. I don't know if he's on my part of you guys, because probably he's on my part because I have. I'm recording and showcasing at the same time. So
I think it's also because Discord limits the stream quality.
yeah, to 720, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the moment, the stuff that I'm showing you is it's a 4K screen, so it should be nice and crisp. But in the like I got to say, in the recording will be actually 4K. So okay, so once you have this, then we can make the connections, and then those things you can actually keep working. So you don't have to organize. You don't have to redo reimport and stuff. You just click here, yes, reimport it, done. Okay, things that if you have an asset already in place, that you have UVs and you change the UVs, then you can just easily do that. Okay, so you don't have to go back and then find. It's very important that you organize your work like this, guys, because you will know where things are and it makes things easier for you guys to read it. Okay, so I think this thing here is wrong. Yeah. So. Right, okay, so what's next? So the next things I'm going to show you is the actual connection between Substance Designer and Substance and Unreal, okay, for doing the actual texture, okay. Now, I got Substance here open, and I'm going to open a package that I have here, which is the concrete package, okay. And I'm just gonna go through, and I'm just gonna give you like a quick primer guide of what you can do with this package, with this software. Okay. You can see here, this is the concrete. You see, very simple stuff. It's not that many nodes, but I'm gonna walk through how the nodes work because this is quite important. Okay. So the UI, guys, my advice. I mean, this software is quite extensive. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to ping this, put in another screen so I can look at it, and then we're gonna start recreating one from scratch here. Okay. Now, the way Substance works is that Substance Designer in particular, it makes tileable texture. That's all what it does. You can actually bring assets from like high, low, and baking. And I'm gonna show an example that I did. You can bring it in, and you can do the baking, and you can actually produce the same sort of workflow that you have in Substance Painter, but it's not as good as doing the actual painting size because Substance Painter got some really nice thing with brushes and stuff like that. Here, you don't have the ability to do brushing and stuff like that. Okay, but you can actually bring a low res, a high res, do the baking, and then do stuff on top with procedural textures. Okay, now this is pretty much the future texturing. In the past, we used to do stuff like this in Photoshop and other software. Now here, the beauty of this is procedural, which means that it's non-destructive, okay? Which means that if you want to change the output of this, you will have to actually, as long as you change something here, you don't have to actually repaint everything. So if you do some changes in here, it will automatically cascade to the output, or will automatically go to the output with no issue, okay? Now, the way Substance Designer work is that you have to derive everything from a single black and white image, which is the high map. So the mantra here is for you to produce a black and white image, okay, that will allow you to derive other maps like normal maps, ambient occlusion, roughness, albedo, color, and things like that, because that will be like the thing that you have to actually produce those maps in order for you to have them ready in Unreal Engine 4. Okay, so we can do the same connections here that we did with the folders and the actual Unreal Engine 4 logical folders. So we can do that, and I'll show you in a minute how to do that. Okay, guys, I advise you go onto the Substance Designer or the Substance by Adobe YouTube page. Watch one of the playlists that is Introduction to Substance Designer. If you watch that, and you can do it in 2-3 hours, just watch it, understand what's happening, and then start doing your own things. Because I will teach you a little bit about the UI, how to move things around, how to maneuver. And then do it. Okay, it's not gonna look. The first one is not gonna look like, oh my god, this is amazing, because I tried like 6-7 times until I actually got it. Don't matter, just drop it and start again. It's only pixel. Okay, obviously do that now. Don't do that week 10, 11, or when you have time. Just do your thing what you're learning later on when you're doing things like during your holidays and stuff like that. So do that. It's fine. It's completely understandable if you want to just drop something and start again. But I'm going to show you here roughly my starting point on how I do things. Now, here you will have the library, which is all the built-in stuff that comes with Substance Designer. These things are just nodes. They are just things that are procedural. And by being, again, procedural, it means that it's non-destructive, which means that they are tileable. You have to change some settings, and it automatically cascades the results at the end. Now, all these nodes, again, like when I'm doing any other software like ZBrush, when you're doing ZBrush, you don't use every single one of those brushes. So there's no point in trying to learn every single one of those brushes. You will have time along the way how to learn those things a little bit more as you need it. But just learn the basics, and then you will pursue from there to build up on something that is a bit more complex. Now, the key thing here is for you guys, when you're looking at your reference, is know how to break it down, how to construct them, how to put them together. And here you will see that all this stuff here is only using about 3 or 4 nodes. It's just been copied and just using it in a different way. And I will show you how to do that in a second, because this is a good example. So now, again, you need to produce one dude, which is this guy here, which is this, the height map. Ignore this bit. The height map comes from pretty much the majority of the work comes from this, which is putting all this stuff together. I think the majority is here. This is the height map. You can see it's a black and white image, and then here I put some extra bit, which I actually believe it was an actual overkill. It never did anything, but I just left it there because I think it's cool. So again, from this map, or from this section, which is the height map, or the final height map, is the one that you're going to see. This guy is the one that brings everything out, brings everything around. This section here is just a little bit of a mixing with other things, just to keep consistency, like in this case the holes as well. So now the way this works is when you start creating stuff inside Substance Designer, you create first what is called a package. Okay, and this is the package. It's called the concrete, the SBS file, which is a package. A package can contain within loads of substances. Substances is another fancy word for texture nodes or texturing graphs. So here you can see that I have a folder for my resources, which is pretty much that tile that I told you before that I can drag and drop here to use, and I will be able to say, okay, this one here, it looks good, the detail that I'm using. Okay, here, and you just have to right click here, and I think it's I think you have to right click and you say I can't remember, import. What is it? Oh, link. Say 3D mesh. Okay, and you put it in a folder called resources. I think that's for you automatically the resource. So this is the package. It's called concrete. I call my package concrete. This texture system is going to use just concrete. And then I have inside here, I have one substance called prefab wall generic, which is the one with just the prefab thing. The resources, ignore that, which is just part of the same structure. Just think about this as a container folder, and this one are all the textures you have inside. I create another one called prefab wall with the lines, the one with the striped lines. These ones here that you can see, this system, I create another one like that. Then here I create something called dirt mask that I was using later on to experiment, and I'll show you what I did there. I have here, I create a couple of decals just for the concrete, and I'll show you how I did that as well in a second. And then that's it. So I can add as many as I want here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ping this dude, because the thing is, every time you open, for example, if I go open this one here, and then I open this one, double click on this, it will replace this. It will replace this, and now I have this. I'll show you what I did there. This is something that I was playing around later, and I think I used them at some point. I will show you what they are. So, and I go as well these decals things here that I have. And I think it's just, you remember those cracks on the floor that I told you? This is how I did it. I did 4 of them differently. Okay, and then I mask them out so I can use them, all of them in the same time. See, I go crack, just normal crack. So if you rotate and do some stuff, you can create some really cool elements for detail. But anyway, the problem that I have is that every time I double click on one of these guys, they automatically load up whatever that. So what you can do is if you want to keep this open, you have to pin it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pin this. Okay. And then I'm going to drag and drop it, put it in the other screen so I can show you. Because I don't want to be able to follow 100%. So I'm going to put it in my other screen, and then I will use that as my starting point. So, but before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new package here. I don't know if this is going to work. If it doesn't work, then I will create an extra substance here. So here I can create an extra package. So a new package, okay, and I'm going to, I suppose you can F2 to rename it. Double click. Anyway, so I think if you once you save it, you rename it. So I'm not going to save it. Okay, so I'm just going to go here, and I'm going to put here new substance graph. Okay. So and I'm going to call this test. Okay. I'm just going to call theater practice demo. So, okay. And again, this is the settings that appear here. So these settings are pretty much standard. So these are just templates we have. PBR, we're going to talk about PBR in a second because I done this, covered this so many times, and I still have people, even in year 3, still not fully caring about what PBR is. Because I shown this many times. The reason these materials look like this is because PBR is taken into consideration at all times. Okay. So again, these are just templates. You got PBR, you got PBR, anisotropy. This is just an extra entry you put in the material. This stuff here, you can see that you can put things for, depending on what you choose here, depending on the target of the rendering. So if you're rendering with Redshift, for example, you're rendering with RenderMan and all the things, or Unity, you will have different settings that they recommend to use here. So for Unreal, the PBR metallic roughness system works. So I'm going to create a new PBR metallic roughness system that will allow me to just work on this as it is. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave as it is. I'm going to call it DP demo. This here is the size. Now remember that this is non-destructive. You are working on, at the moment I got it to, when it says relative to parents, means that if the parent package is 2K, which at the moment is 2K, then just keep the same resolution. This stuff here can, if you score a computer that is not powerful enough, you can start at 1K, and then once you finish, you put it to 4K at the end, and then you render it. Okay, and you will have all the detail because these things are procedural. So this is the beauty of it. You don't have to set up. If you start with 1K because your computer is not powerful enough, then, or you think that building your node graph gets a little bit heavy on the system, taxing on the system, then you can actually lower that temporarily, work at that, and at the end, once you save everything, then you can export at 2K or 4K. My computer was okay with handling 2K, and that was what I established from the beginning, which was going to be 2K for my whole system. Okay, so what I did was I put this, leave this relative to parents. If you put this in absolute, then you're going to have to specify, and I think you hover over here, tell you what exactly are. So you see in absolute the size is fixed and does not take the most whole size into account. So for example, I can have this guy saying, oh, the package is 4K, but then I can have say, hey, this stuff is going to be, it's only a mask, I'm going to keep it at 1K, and you keep it at 1K, so you put it here to relative, absolute, sorry, and then you say 1K, and that's it. You are working on that because it's a mask, you don't need to have 2K. And then you can create another substance and say, well, this one is actually quite right, so I'm going to put it 4K, and then you can work from there this way. Okay? You can go here to 4K. Okay? But at the moment, I'm going to keep it that this guy is in 2K, and I'm just going to keep it like that. So 2K, and then the format relative to parent. This one here is depending on the channels. Like you go 16-bit per channel, 8-bit per channel. I'll show you in a second what they are. And these are the graph outputs. With this preset, you will have something that is come out called base color, which is albedo, the normal, a roughness, metallic, height. Not necessarily you always use this. And the ambient occlusion. These are the standard things that you normally export from Unreal Engine 4, or you need when you put a material in Unreal Engine 4. Okay, that's what you need to know. So I'm gonna keep it like that, and I'm gonna hit OK. So you can see here that because I put this one into a new package here, I'm going to save it just in case so it's stuff crash. I'm gonna call this here, and I'm just gonna call. I'm I'm gonna put them into my tube of water, Soften project, Soften designer title materials, and I'm just gonna call this here. I'm gonna create a new folder, and I'm gonna call this digital practice underscore demo. I'm gonna click that, and I'm gonna save it pp demo sv. I'm gonna save that. You can see it takes the name for this by default, but you can change it whatever. So again, you can see now that because I pinned the other dude, it stays there. You see, it doesn't close. Because I did that and I just pin it by just putting that little icon down. Here is enable persistent of component. In here, you can do the same, I think, or you can only pin one. Oh, here you can see enable persistent component. You can have several open. So again, I'm gonna take this dude and I'm just gonna drag it and I'm just gonna put in my other screen. Okay. Actually, my other screen is quite, it's a 4K as well, so it's quite. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm just gonna submit. You're not be able to see this because I have it open in the other element. Okay. So, but look at this. Look what happened here. Now, this is the standard stuff. You can see, and this is what is outputting. By default, I think is the one that you got selected. I think in this case would be telling you here base color. See? So what it does is it put a uniform color, okay, base color, with an output of base color, normal. Uniform color, this is just gray. I think it's 50%, I suppose. So it's half rough to roughness. Uniform color, metallic. The stuff is not metallic. If I change this to 1, look what happens. The stuff starts looking metallic. You remember when I talked to you about metallic? I'm going to explain something to you in a second. So uniform color, ambient occlusion. If you keep black here, if you don't have anything in the ambient occlusion, it makes everything dark. Okay. And then here you got height as well. The height as well is 50%. Okay. Okay. So, how do we start working with this? Now, the first thing that I like to do is set up my outputs. Okay. And the outputs I normally set it up this way. So what I do is, at the moment this stuff is all cool, but if I were doing a massive graph here, I have to connect all of them like individual. Oh, this is going to be the color. This is going to be the normal. So what I like to have is have a single component here, okay, that allows me to actually connect everything in one go. And there is something here called a base material. Okay, now this is the section, the graph editor here, where you put all your nodes. Now here there is a collection of nodes that you normally use, and I advise you to go through them and then have a look what they do. Now again, this is something that I'm going to show you here very quickly because this could take hours to do something. Okay, but I wanted to give it a go. So my advice is to go. And I think I'm going to show you here. If you go into YouTube here, and you type here substance, okay, and substance here, you go to Substance by Adobe, and then in playlist. When I learned how to use Substance, all I did, I went through this guy. This one is here. This guy here tells you exactly where to look. Creating your first material, why designing your first node, understanding the material workflow, creating the package and project. All the stuff that I show you here, it will tell you how to do it. And at the end, you will produce something like this. A little bit more advanced with water and stuff, but you don't need that. You can see here, look, this is a material in Unreal. Very straightforward. So that is all what I did. I looked at that. Say, okay, so I know how now Soften Designer and Soften Painter works. Okay, Soften Painter, I personally don't like it because I just hate those layers. It's just too confusing for me. So nodes I like because the node is simple. You just start from here and then the output is there, and I can make connections however I want, and that's it. For me, it makes more sense. But I advise you go through this playlist. So I'm just gonna put it here into your in Discord. I'm gonna put it on feedback. Okay, and if you go through that, guys, I guarantee you will come out there with a very thorough understanding of this. And you see, they are not that long. You see, I think probably will take you, I don't know, an afternoon, or, and you will be okay. So, okay, going back to this. So what happened here? What happened is that every single one of the things are individual. Okay, so if I want to change the color, I have to go here and then go here into the color, so I can probably sRGB I think is how do you change color, and I can here I can just sample any color. It doesn't work that way here. Let me see why. Because the moment is grayscale. What I have to do is I have to go through the color, and then here I can just change the color. Okay, so now I have. Okay, so I think I have to go here and say you output in 3 now. I think this one doesn't want to work. Let's see. It's in grayscale, it's in color, so I can. You see, I can change the color because the saturation was 0, so I can, change any color here. Okay. Okay, so you can see here, so I can change the color of this and the normal map. So I have to go and do that individually. So what I'd like to do is consolidate all this into a single connection, and I like to do that with using a node called the base material. Okay, the base material is this. So you go here. If you want to make a node, you have to do is press tab, and it will give you here a list of the nodes that you normally use, which are these ones here. But then you can find your own material. So I know that this node is not listed perhaps here, but I think it's listed somewhere here in material, I think, somewhere around here. So you see there's loads of stuff in here. So I'm going to call this material. And then it sort of filter around and then trying to give you other stuff with material. I think there's one here called base material. Okay, and then base material has this section, you see. So base material have all the stuff that is here by consolidated in a single section. So if I right click on this, I say view output in 2D, and then that's that. But if you say view output in 3D, you can as well show me which one. But if you right click and drag in here, it will show you this material automatically in here. Okay. Okay. So I can then take these guys, okay, delete them, and then make these connections automatically in here. So I can go one by one, okay, and do it like that. So I can do this. And then this is going to be my output for, this is going to be the normal, this is going to be the roughness, this is going to be the metallic, this is going to be the height. What you have to do is you click, drop, and then you.
Luis, I think you lost connection. You're not streaming anymore.
Say again?
You lost. You rejoined. And the stream has ended.
Oh, so you cannot see, guys.
No,
It's basically my Discord crashed.
Yeah, mine crashed as well. Yeah.
Yeah, mine too.
Ah, okay. So let me try to.
It was only like the last 30 seconds, minute or so. It wasn't a lot.
Okay. Is everybody seeing now again?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm recording. But anyway, so everybody's seeing roughly what I'm doing, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think there is a section here you can, if you, for example, here you go ambient occlusion. Here you go height ambient occlusion. I'll leave it swap here. You can swap it in there, but it doesn't make any difference. But I think if you are out of the screen, if you click, for example, here, and you want to go out, I think you have to do is middle click and drag, and then you connect it. I think that's how it works. Yeah. You connect this one to this. Okay. So now, if you want, you can just, if you right click here and says here, you can tell them view output in 3D, and it's exactly the same. Okay, so now this, you see the color has been replaced because now we've taken the output of this for that. Now, I don't know how to disconnect things. Yeah, you can disconnect things by just selecting and dragging. But if you want to connect everything in one go, what you do is you go to this button here. I think it's this one. Let me see. No, it's. So anyway, you press 1, 2, 3. I think it is. Yeah, when you press. It's this one here. So standard is connection one by one. This is connecting as a material. This is a compact material. So if you put a compact material, it's clever enough to know how to connect them. You see? So you don't have to do that. And then you can put it back to 1. So 1 is with all the connections individually. 2, I think it is I can't remember, man. 2 is. Yeah, 2 is material. That's it is. You connect with the material. And then 3 is compact connection. So you can, instead of going me one by one, you can do that, and it's clever enough to understand because these things have been tagged already with the components and the usage and you got the naming convention as well that it does understand it. So if you want to do that temporarily, you can press 3, make the connection, and then press 1, and then select this guy, press 1, and then you're going back to the way 1. Or you can just do what I did, okay? Now, the way I work is that I normally do is I don't have this because, as you all know, okay, as you all know, this stuff here, we work with this as a single map. We work with this as a single map now, but not these 3 guys here are normally connected in a single map. So at the moment, if we keep it like that, this stuff is going to be connected in a single map, this stuff is another map, and this one is another map, and this one's another. Now, that is obviously useless and not very efficient because you will have loads of material, loads of texture that you're not going to need. So all of you have some sort of knowledge on how to put together these textures. Now, you do that in Software Painter by doing one of the presets, right click, rename it, and then you put the compact and say, okay, I want the roughness in the red channel, the whatever in the red channel, and all that stuff, okay? In the green channel, this, and then in the blue channel, the ambient occlusion, for example, okay? So, does everybody understand what I just said about the having all the elements separately, and then that is not the way to work? Does everybody understand?
Yep.
Yeah, because obviously we will have a single, I mean, it works okay for base color, because we need 3 channels. It works okay for normal because it's 3 channels, but this stuff here normally are single channels that we're going to be connecting. So there's no point in having a whole texture with just gray, when we can have gray in just the red channel, or a whole texture for metallic when it's white, when you can just have it in a single channel in the green, and then so forth in the blue. Now, I know that Matt's teach you guys the PSM system, right? Is that correct?
For Unreal, yeah.
Yeah, for Unreal. I call it different. I call it RMAO, which is roughness for the green, the red, M material metallic for the green, and AO for the blue. That's how I work. Everybody works differently. What Matt's done is completely fine. It's just that it's a different way of working. So how do we pack these things here? So there is a node for that. And the node is, if we right click here, or press tab, and you put RGBA merge, is this one here. And you got the RGBA split, which is the counterpart. So we got this RGBA merge, and we can say, hey, from this guy here, I can actually have a single connection of all this output into a single section. Now, what I normally do, okay, and I think something you can potentially do is that you can, because you see the thing through this, you can actually leave this guy here or replace them. So, I'm going to take this, okay, and I'm going to be my connection that connects roughness, metallic, and ambient occlusion in a single channel. Okay, so for that I need to create one of these dudes, which is an output channel. This is an output channel. So I press tab and I type output. You can have as many as you want. You can call anything output. In fact, I can then, because this stuff here, every time you put, you see it automatically. Look, I call base color, ambient occlusion, and I have another one I call all output. So if you open, for example, this, you see I already have all this stuff already as an output. I can take one of these, drag and drop in here, and then I'll make a connection to that, because it's part of the same project. So I'm going to connect this. This stuff here, if I double click, here at the moment it's black because the alpha is 0, so it's nothing. At the moment it's no color, so we got no connection. So what I do is I take the output and I'm going to rename it. Okay, and I'm going to rename it. I think this one comes out here because it's the one that I have selected on the other node. So I'm going to have to probably take and pin it, but no, not pin that. So here I'm going to put the name, which is, I'm going to call it just how I call it. Like I said, Matt calls it PSM. I call it RMAO. Why not? Okay, so you see it's being updated. I tell them the system now here, the settings that I normally choose. I need to put, this is just a system. I don't know if this makes any difference. I think this is for just having it here. So I think just for consistency, it's going to be an RGBA channel. It's a kit diffuse, and I think that works. I think I don't have to do anything else to it. So I'm not 100% sure if this is necessary, but probably it does, because this is something that you can actually read, which is going to be an RGB. So, or it's going to be a gray channel, because you can have here, you can have things like red, green, or alpha, but it's RGBA. So I'm going to call this RMO, and you can put a description here if you want, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't make any difference. So again, I'm going to take now my roughness, and by convention, I said that I'm going to put in the green. Okay, so you can see that as long as I put this here, you see it goes red. I go green in there, which is not 100% bright green because the original roughness you can see is 50% gray. So it's giving me 50% red channel gray in here. I'm going to put the metallic based on the convention RM metallic into here, into the green channel. So I have this now. Now this one goes very bright because, you know, it was white metallic. Okay, so I have now here red and green, okay, in this output. And now in the blue, I'm going to put the ambient occlusion. Okay, so if I put ambient occlusion here, then we have this color. And this is roughly what normally you have, guys, which is that little neat thing that you can have with all the channels, okay? So I can now take these guys and then delete them if I want to. Now for convention, I know that the alpha here is going to be 100% white. But if I want to add something to it, I can add some stuff here. If I want to, I can add the height map here in the alpha channel. Why not? Okay. And now by default, one of the things as well that happen is that, before I delete that, let me show you this. See, this stuff here, it automatically says it's going to be a color of 16 bits, which means that it's going to be raw. And that's why you have to uncheck that little sRGB, guys, in Unreal. And here you see C color 8, it means that it has sRGB. Normal doesn't need sRGB. Roughness, metallic, and occlusion does not need sRGB because it defaults to C16. You can change the things, guys, if you want. You can change them here. I think in the pixel here, you can just go here and change it to, and then the output format, you can change it if you want to. But we're not going to go through that. I'm going to leave high as it is, okay, just in case we need it. But again, I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to delete it. And at the moment, you can see that it has not made any difference. Now, the problem we have at the moment is that this stuff is self-contained. Okay, the base material. You can see that the base material has no input at all. So we need to start defining the inputs one by one. Okay, and normally what I do is I start with just the height map. Okay, for example, if I take this guy, you can see all this input here. Use it to define maps. Base color is false, normal is false. All these guys are false because they are not available. So I can normally the way I work is I take this guy. Okay, this is going to be my output. You can see here. Look, I go base color. RMO is identified. That'll be normal. Normal is fine. I don't know why it doesn't take normal. I don't know why. I mean, this is okay. RMO, base color. Now this guy here is the height map, and the base color should be well here like this, guys. Interesting. I don't know why that happened. Anyway, it will probably update in a second. I don't know. Ah, there you go. Base color now. It's just a normal. Come on, a normal doesn't come out. Anyway, so that's fun. So let's see here. We put let's force this view output in 3D. Okay, so that in 3D, that's fine. Okay, doesn't make any difference. No, that's fine. Okay, so here you can see that I don't have nothing in here. It's just a box. Okay, I think if you press, you can put things like in the display here. You can tell them to show the background, the light, the camera, and all that. The scene. You can see things in the background, but I just don't wanna show any of that because the thing is, I think if you press right, I think it's shift right click. I think you can spin around the. I don't know. One of this is you can spin the scene around, so you can see. I can't remember how to do that, but guys, give me a break. Too many things. So you can change the lighting in the background. You can drag and drop stuff to change the lighting, so it sort of matches roughly what you're working on. But for now, let's ignore that. So again, if I take this guy now, you see this guy is self-contained. The stuff that he's doing is at the moment is doing these outputs are sort of built in inside, and they're here. You can see it tells you the PBR workflow, which is metal roughness, which is fine. You can change it to other one if you want, but this is the one that we chose. The material preset, you can do things as well here. Look, you got preset like copper, iron, whatever. And then here you go, the base color is 50% gray, metallic, 100% metallic, roughness, 0.25 rough, and then you can put some stuff in here if you want, but it doesn't need that. So you can actually, the custom grunge input, you can just enable it as well. You will have an extra thing, but that's just stuff that are sort of preset inside. You got the high as well here, so it's 50%, and then these are the map that you can actually. So the moment you enable one of these maps, it automatically bypasses this thing. So let's say height. If you enable it, you see there's an input here now called height, and then the height here. Now you can actually change it differently. You can see it's different now. You see height position. Now it changes. So now you can do other things. So now, how do we get this height to work? Okay, so at the moment, remember what I told you. The mantra of all this is create one height map. So I'm gonna do just for now. I'm gonna create just this stuff. It's gonna drag and drop a grunge. And you can see that this stuff here is procedural grunge material. So if I take this and connect it, this is what I get. So now I'm putting the material here automatically into the height map. So the height map is telling me, hey, this is what it looks like if I want to do this. So now the height map, if I double click, it's just the map as it is. Look. Okay, it's being a little bit sort of balanced out. I believe is because it's linear. It's linear 16, so it doesn't have sRGB. Okay. So, I mean, if you were to keep it linear, you have to get rid of the put L16 here, and then you will have to do it anyway. But if you keep it with color, it's fine because you will always tick that inside Substance. Inside Unreal when you work. You can see here, you can tweak this guy. Okay, so you can see that I created this stuff, but this stuff is not influencing roughness or metallic or ambient occlusion. It's not influencing normal at all, and it's not influencing color. You can see base color is the same. Normal, now actually inside it produced a normal automatically for you. Well, that's clever. But that wasn't in the previous one. So you can see it create automatically internally from this white black and white image. It created this, but that is just as it is. If you want to tweak the roughness yourself, then you can do some logic in here and then enable the normal and connect it, and it will output. And I'll show you in a second. And here you can see that nothing happened because none of this element, this single map is not affecting this guy at all. Okay, it's not doing anything to it. So how about if I want this guy to do something to the normal specifically, okay, or the color? Fine, I can say, okay, I'm gonna be working on this guy, but now I'm gonna enable that entry. So at the moment I enable, for example, base color, everything turns black because there's nothing connected to base color. And now you can see the base color here is gone. Look at this. See, now it's available. Now it's not, because now it's saying, hey, okay, so now I'm not going to be using the one that is encapsulated inside here. I'm going to be using something that you're going to provide. So I can take this guy and then connect into the color, but it doesn't respond because color, the yellow pings mean that you need color. The gray ping means you need black and white images. This type is only providing a black and white image. So what you can do is you can convert this into a color. And I think there is a node that does that, but I think I'm going to use now is, I'm going to use a node that I'm going to show you in a minute called the gradient map. The gradient map takes a grayscale and then outputs a color. So I take this, see now it's okay. You see how the pink goes yellow, and now I connect it here, and now you can see that it's using the same color as the base color. See, base color is there, normal map is still there, nothing affected these guys, and the high map is there. Okay, but obviously this is not very convenient, so you can do some stuff in here. And I think probably you're seeing some stuff in YouTube that you can actually take this guy here. This is very clever. You take a gradient editor, which is this thing, okay, and then you can go into, let's say, an image. Let's say I'm going to open this. I don't know, this for example. I'm going to open this. I'm just going to move it here. And then you can take big gradient. Okay, let me cancel that because I need it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just, I'm going to pick this gradient and I'm going to draw it around here, and it will pick up the range of color of this gradient. So I have to put it in the screen so I will be able to pick it. So, pick gradient. I'm going to drag and draw over that image. And you can see it picked all the colors from there. You remember the colors that we have here? See, it picked up those gradients. Okay, so now I have a color that sort of resembles based on this. So the way it works, whatever is black, it's gonna take towards the black here. This is the white and this is the black. So whatever was white, you're gonna take this tinted color. You can see here the white, and then the black is gonna take towards this color. That's what the black bit. You can see, for example, this corner here, the black. What was it? I think it's. Sorry, it's all the way around. Sorry, this is the white and this is the black. Black and white. So the black things here, this section, is gonna have the majority of this color, and you can see it here. And then the white bit, for example, this is pure white here. It takes the blue, which is mapped to this color, and you can play around with this thing. You can see, you can take this. You can see, you can make thing changes. We can make it blue. We can put an extra key here as well. Double click on it and then change. I don't know, red, for example. You can see you can create some crazy stuff. Okay. Okay, but obviously this is just demonstrating how this works, but that's not how I did my stuff. Okay, because my stuff I created this dude first and then I start building from there. And again, so at the moment, look at this base color is this guy now. Now normal is fine, it's as it was. Roughness is still the same because I haven't done any manipulation with the roughness, and the height is as it was. I'll already output it from here automatically. Okay, so now the key thing is you need to have this guy, which is the height map, and this guy is the one that is going to derive everything. Okay, so ideally you need to have something here that is all the logic you've done to create your material, and then here you do the manipulation, and then you do the stuff that does this. Okay, so the moment if I delete this, everything go back to black, because the moment I'm saying, hey, use this input but nothing connected. So if you want to keep the one that is built in here, you just press Alt and you see using the gray, which is this one. And again, I can change the color here if I want to. Okay, so again, from this now, everything comes out from this now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, are you following this?
Yeah, I am.
Everything okay? So is anything you want me to cover again? Anything that was not clear while I was saying all this?
It's fine for me. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. Okay, so I have only the height here available. Okay, so I got that. Now, what do I need to do next? Okay, so what do I need to do next? I need to start working all the logic to build something that looks like concrete. Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to care much at the moment, because look at this. And this is something that I'm gonna show you here quickly so you understand what I'm telling you about the PBR. Okay, so here I have at the moment this stuff looks sort of semi-metallic. Okay, and then if we go through the values, the built-in values, I'm going to, this one doesn't make any difference because there's nothing in there. So at the moment you got no input, just everything that is built in here. We can do it in this section. Okay, excuse me. So at the moment the color is value 50% gray. Okay, can anybody tell me quickly your understanding of PBR? When I talk about PBR, what is it exactly?
It's basically physically like assigning physical characteristics to your textures. So your metal, so you decide if a material is metal or dielectric, so either metal or plastic. Well, not plastic, but non-metal. And you determine how much light is refracted using a roughness or gloss map. And then basically you can put that into a game engine, and then it'll use that information to determine how light hits objects, basically.
Yeah,
that's how I would think it is.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Now, can anybody else tell me the relationship when I talk about the maps that we need? Like, for example, the base color, the roughness, the metallic, and the normal map, and the ambient occlusion, which are pretty much standard. Okay.
So what was the question?
The question is, can anybody tell me the relationship between the map? For example, what relationship can you explain me the role, for example, of the metallic map inside a PBR shader?
Not sure.
Okay, this is very important, guys, because I still see on G3 and even in Masters, I still see that people are messing up the roughness map and messing up the metallic map and all that because they don't have a thorough understanding of this. Now I'm going to explain to you here, demonstrate what does this look like. Okay, at the moment we have a base color, which at the moment is 50% gray. Okay, we have the normal map, which is at the moment neutral. There's no detail. Here we have RGBA, which is roughness, metallic, and ambient occlusion. Now the metallic here, okay, it is built in from the shader. Now I'm going to demonstrate here quickly. I'm going to take inside this material here, and I'm going to go into here, and I'm just going to choose a sort of yellowy color. Okay, that's going to it has 50% value. It has a saturation of 1, and it has a hue of, I don't know, whatever. This is just the wheel, the spinning in the wheel and the pie, using a system that goes around from 0 to 1 goes from rotating along the wheel, and then you will get the color that you need. So at the moment, this is, I think it's a bit too green, so I'm gonna put it more towards the red. Okay, so we got this. At the moment, we got this material, and it's sort of, let me have a look at metallic. Okay, metallic at the moment is 100%. Now, what will happen when I put metallic to 0? Okay, we're going to put metallic to 0, and I'm going to take roughness, and I'm going to decrease the roughness. Okay, so I'm going to put it like, it's roughly like this. Okay. So now, the moment this thing looks plasticky, correct? You have this guy, which is yellow, normal, nothing, ignore normal, and ignore high for a moment in the ambient occlusion. We're just going to focus on color, metallic, and roughness. Okay. So, at the moment, this looks plastic, and the reason it looks plastic is because it has a value of metallic of 0. Okay. Now, look what happened to the reflection when I increase the metallic to 1. Now it looks goldy. Okay. So this guy, this map here is very important for this element of the PBR, the metallic, because that will make you look or break, or good look or break the actual material. You can see here the reflection is tinted with this color. So what happened is, the metallic says, when this thing is 1, take the base color, and then that is the color of the reflection. That's all what it does. So if something is yellowish, it looks goldy. If something is, I don't know, towards, let's say towards the orange, it looks coppery. If something is quite neutral, if we take the actual saturation and knock it down, you start looking like, you know, like a little bit of a titanium sort of look or whatever. Okay. So if I had this to look like copper, it's because it's taking the color and then it's going to be tinting the reflection of that color, thus making everything look metallic. Now, if I take the metallic and put it to 0, look what happened. It looks like a piece of plastic. It takes the reflection and says, oh, okay, because the metallic is 0, the base color is going to be what I see, but then I take the reflection and then I don't tint it with any color. I just leave it white. And then what Brian was saying is a dielectric material. It's a material that doesn't conduct electricity. As soon as I put the metallic to 1, then the stuff starts looking metallic. Roughness, what it says is, hey, that stuff is how shiny it is and how rough it is. If it's really rough, there is a point that you kill the metallic because it's too rough. Okay? So you have to keep this to a certain level. You see that stuff here, when it's at a certain point, because the roughness is so high that the highlights start spreading so far that you start losing that sort of metallic look. So you have to play with this guy with care. So if you put it to 0 as well, you start looking still metallic and to mirror light. But you can see, for example, the reflection here. Look how the sky is tinted with this color. See? It's tinted yellowish because it's tinting everything, the reflection, with this color. Now if I put the metallic back to 0, you see there is no tinting in the reflector. The reflection keeps the same color as it was. You can see the blue here. It just looks yellowish because the base color is yellow. It's what is under. Okay? Does everybody understand this?
Yep.
Yeah.
We worked on this last trimester with Matt and Holly. We had to do we did parameters in Unreal with all of this. So it's very, very similar.
It's the same. It's the same. It's just I'm explaining it here. How do you need to set up your things for you to know that you are working on PBR and you understand the materials? Because if you don't have that, then you will make something look like supposed to be metallic. You just make it look plasticky. And the explanation is this: that this dude here, this metallic map plays a key role. You see, everything is tinted yellowish.
Yeah.
Okay, and everything starts looking metallic. You put a little bit of roughness, then you start looking something like it's copper. Okay, so this is pretty much what you have to do when it comes to this material. So again, I'm gonna put the saturation back to 0 here, to 0, and I'll put about 50%. Gray. And then I'm gonna put the roughness value a little bit higher like that, and then the metallic to 1, so you can see it's looking a little bit metallic. Okay, but we know that we're going to be producing something that is 100% dielectric, which is the concrete, so I don't need the metallic. So I can either put the metallic to 0 here, okay, or if I want to, I can just go here and I'm gonna press tab, and I put called uniform color. I'm gonna set it up to grayscale. You can see how the button goes to gray, and then I'm gonna connect it into the green channel, and then automatically this stuff is killing the metallic to 0 because it goes 0. So now this stuff is metallic. So here, this is for previewing. You can see that the stuff is here. It's go metallic, but I think if I right click here and say view output in 3D, it doesn't make any difference because it doesn't understand what this is. So that's fine. So for export, keep it like that. If you're doing a dielectric, if you're doing a metallic, it's most likely it's going to be variation. You just connect the metallic from here directly to there. Okay. This is for here just to simplify things because it is just a we know that we're going to do concrete, so concrete doesn't need a metallic element because otherwise if you keep the concrete with the metallic to 1, it would start looking like a very weird metallic thing. So keep it like that. That's fine. Here, just because we know we're not going to do metallic, so just knock it down to 0 here. Okay, so everything start looking like a gray box here. So how do you start putting things together? So, okay, let's start with this. Okay, I'm going to put something that is very, very basic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag, I'm going to take I'm going to delete this because it's not connected to the movement, and I'm just going to click here and I'm just going to connect, I'm going to enable the high map, okay? And then the high map, the moment if you click here, there's nothing. Okay, it's only the built-in value that you have here, which is 50%, I think was a bit. So I'm going to add here a few nodes, okay? And I'm going to start with it. So I'm going to start with a grunge. So I'm going to go here into noises, and I'm just going to look for a grunge. And I think the best thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to paste it here. So this is the grunge that I start with, okay? Now this grunge here, okay, if I connect it directly to here, this is what I get. Look. Okay, and it's interesting, but it's not necessarily what I want. Okay, so I need to. What I did was just pure experimentation. Okay, I transformed that. Okay, so I transformed this into the actual section. I think it's better if what I'm gonna do, guys. Otherwise, it's gonna take us too long. Or it'll take it too long. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this like that, and I'm just gonna drag this thing in here. Okay, so this is stuff that we're working when I explained to you this stuff. Now we're gonna go through this. Okay, and this is just the node as it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna create here a temporary base material. So I'm gonna create here. I'm gonna press tab, and I'm gonna press base material. Okay, it's gonna be exactly the same. So if I right click here, this is what I get, and I'm not going to get any output. So you're gonna put it 3D, and then here I'm going to just showcase the map. Okay, and then I'm gonna connect this into here. Okay, and I'm gonna right click and then drag and drop it here, and this is what I get. Okay, it's very subtle. You can see here it's very subtle. Okay, so this is how I did it. So I can do is I can take this in here. I added this. Okay, this high map. Okay, the high map. This grunge is grunge map 04. You just type it here, or you can just find it. And I believe it's this one. Grunge map number 4. You can drag and drop it. Now I thought, well, because I had at that time, I was experimenting. So I said, well, I think these things are too big. So if you want to make things smaller, but without breaking the tileability or the procedural nature, you put this node called transform. So I'm going to put here tab, transform, 2D, and you can connect this to this. Okay, and then I'm going to put it here. So now the transform node, what it does is you can make things twice as big or twice as small. And what you do is you just tell them this button here, you can tell them to say, okay, give me this button, by hitting this button here, you make things, you can see, have a look here, you can make things twice as small. Okay, and you can, as well, you can take, you can offset things, squashing, stretching, but you would break probably you can move it around. You see, you find a pattern that you like, but you say, well, it's not in the right position. You can actually go here and then offset it. All what I did here was I made it twice as big. You can see here. This is the stuff that I just put. Okay, and this is the stuff that I did here. You can see this is the same. It should be the same. If I put it to double click, you can see the same. There's no changes here. So I transform it. Okay, and now I took another branch map. This one. Okay. So this grand map, I went and I did the same. I transform it. This time I click this twice, make it 4 times big. Okay. But then again, this is all experimentation. So once I did this transformation, I took this other grunge, which is called moisture noise, and then I do this node called the slope blur. Okay. Now the slope blur is a very interesting node. Okay. So what it does, it takes. Let me showcase it to you. Slope blur grayscale. What it does, it takes a grayscale and it takes a slope node, and then it will pretty much blur it. So if you take this and take this element and pretty much map this out in a way that make it look like this. Okay, this was before, and this you apply this noise to this, and then make things a little bit more like evenly distributed. So there's not much contrast between 0 and y, and this is what it does. This now, you can connect anything to this. So if I connect, let's say this, for example, if I connect this to this, you see it gives me this stuff. And if I connect to there, this is what it is. So this will be useful for doing things like wood, plank, and things like that, perhaps. But you have to be careful because it brings a lot of artifacts as well. So you can take this guy and say, well, this is too small. And again, you can change the scale. This stuff here, you can change the scale because you can make it bigger. You can change the amount. This is, you can go crazy with stuff. So pretty much what you do is you take this and then you can change the intensity. You can make it more blur or less blur. So that I give you that little sort of like look that you want. You can see this one here automatically give me something quite interesting as a texture. Okay, so once you do that, okay, then what I did was, because this is quite interesting, and then I took this, okay, and then I transformed it to make it tileable. Then I did this, which is going to be the bread and butter, guys, for you, is the blend node. So the blend node at the moment is called the subtract. So trying to see if I can help you with this stuff. It doesn't get too confusing. So here, what I've done is I got this section already in place, which is this. Okay. Now, if I want to blend two nodes, let's say I want to blend these two together. You press tab, you put the node blend, and the blend node, guys, what it is pretty much a fancy name for the blending things in Photoshop. Look. Dots, add, subtract, multiply, maximum, minimum, switch, divide, overlay. This stuff is just like Photoshop. So what you do, if I take, for example, this on the foreground and this in the background, and I put it here, this is what I get. Okay. At the moment, it is pretty much the same as this node, because the blending mode at the moment says that it's a copy. So I'm copying whatever is in this input, the foreground, into the background. So pretty much I'm replacing and putting it right on top. But I can say, well, I want to replace it, but I don't want to replace it 100%. I want to replace it to a certain amount. So you can go here into the opacity, which is this input. You can say, well, give me 50% of only that, or 10%. So if I put it 0%, it's only gonna show me this guy. You can see it's exactly the same preview. Okay, you can see it here in the viewport. Okay, so if I take this and I say, well, give me, I don't know, a blend between them. You can see how the other one starts sort of blending in. You can see it here. And this one is saying about 50% of this is going to be put on top of this. Okay? And you can create things like Photoshop. You say, well, I don't want to copy, I just want to add. You can add them. You can subtract them. You can see it gives you something different. Okay, subtracting what is 0. I can multiply. Give me this, just like Photoshop. And again, if the multiplication is too hard, you can just say, well, not too much, or give me more of the multiplication, and you start multiplying and give you some really interesting effect. So this technique here is the stuff that I'm going to be using for creating like bubble paint and things like that in the main tank. So you can play, you need to play around with the setting, because this one will allow you to create some really interesting details and stuff. So again, at the moment, this is connected to this and these two together, but then the opacity is manually done here, so it's even for all the texture. But if you want to have some elements, to have some stuff and some element on, then you can actually create like put like another node here to connect it. So let's see if we can sort of replicate that by putting, I don't know, I'm gonna put, can I put one of these? I'm not sure. Let me put, I'm gonna put, I don't know, let's say this one. Yeah, this one. Oh, too much. I'm gonna put, guys, could you, whoever's doing stuff in the keyboard and stuff, like, could you please put the sort of push to talk, so I can. Somebody's very angry with the keyboard. So you can see here, I go like a texture gradient that goes from bottom to top with a little bit of dirt. And then if I want to crank this up, I can put another node, which is pretty common, and I think you got it in Photoshop. It's called the levels node, and I think you can find it here. So if I put this here, I can crank up these values to make it a little bit more contrasty, like that. And then I can use this as my opacity. So when I have this, I can see I will only be blending the bottom part of this on top of this. You can see it here. By having this, you can see that this section here, the white allowed me to pass this only at this part. And if I want to tweak it, I said, yeah, sure, I want to make it more even. So I can make it, you can see I can crank it up and I can just bring different values and different elements, different sections that you want. So I can make it more. So this one will make it a bit more. You see, it goes all the way to the top. So I can put this in there. You can make it look a little bit more like this. You can see that halfway through. By playing with the levels, I'm only passing half of the texture here where the white is, and the black, it says no, keep the background, which is this one, which is essentially this one here. Okay, so once you have that, then you can just start building your material all the way through like that. So I'm just gonna delete this. So you can see what I did here was I took this guy here, I put just a white background, which is a shape node, and it's just a white background. And this is for tiling. You can create things like this scale. This is for creating things like tile. Oh, it's crashing. No. So the scale, for example, if I put this guy I don't know, smaller, you can see here. And if I take this guy here and connect it, you can see that I am only using the detail on the white part because I got a blending the white with the background using subtract. So I'm subtracting everything where it's 0. And this one here, you can make it, this shape, you can make it tileable. You can see. And again, you can just put stuff. I could have used just a uniform white color, but I just put a tile there. I think I was learning, experimenting, see if I can do it this way. But it works. So at the moment, what it does is very subtle, but what I'm doing is, you might not be able to see it from this, the actual stream, but what it does here is, you can see there's a little bit of detail in there. So that's the first thing that is, okay, this is going to be like my base starting point. So, and then I started, okay, I'm gonna create in this section the holes prefab, and I started with this. So I started with this hole. I'm gonna start one by here. Okay, and again, this is a shape, and the shape know what it is. You can tell them here to do the pattern. You can put square, this, parabol, bell. I put the Gaussian, which is just a dot. And if you can see here, it's just, can you see the bump here? It's just this dot here. You can see it there in the corner. There. Then I put levels to it, just to make it a little bit more contrasty. You see, levels. Then I did a tile generator, which is you take a shape and then you input it and you create a tile. And this is the tile that I created. See those little dots? That's for those dot marks you find in the texture. Then I use this node to do the slope blur that I told you. And what it does is just warp them a little bit, so they are not perfectly circle. You can see here with if I do it more, you can see I can warp them more. See, until it's too much. You can see they are too warped. So all I did was I warped them a tiny touch. See, this is, look at this how it changes. So I touched it just a tiny little bit. Okay, like that. Then I took this and then I blended with the background. See, I took the output of this and blended with the background. You can see here. And I blended using subtract. So I'm subtracting the black section. So I'm subtracting this white into this image. So I'm taking the white section from here and subtract it from the original texture, and then you get the holes there. Okay, you can see those 4 holes. Very simple. Then I went and did a connection line. So the connection line, I started with a shape, which was this line right in the middle. And again, a shape, I used a square, I scaled it up, and I shaped it in the size in Y1 and in X very thin. I put it there. Okay, I took the third here, this third map, I apply some levels, and then I use a blend to put it on top. So yeah, I can blend that white line just to break it so it's not perfect. So it gives me this. You can see this. So it gives me this line there. Before, if I put a line before, it would be like this. You see, it's too clean. So what I've done is I put a dirt, crank up the levels, blend it on top of the line by using multiply and using a 60% opacity, and I did that. Then I did a blur called Blur HQ Grayscale, just to blur a little bit. You can see now it looks a little bit blur like that. Okay, I remember how to disable a. I know, can't remember. Explain properly. I can't remember how to disable it. Anyway, so you got that, the blur, and then what I did was I took the same thing, okay, and I blur it and then I put it on top. Okay, so what I done is I did copy only 70% the blur part on top of the original 31. Oops. So now you can see that was before, that's now. I added the original this with the blur and I put it on top. It's very subtle. You can see here. Too much. Going up. Only a percentage. So I have something in there. So then what I did was I took this thing which is called fractal sunbase, and then I do the slab blur, which is a warp in it, and then give me this. You can see that was before. You see a straight line, and then by using this soft fractal node, I applied it, and now the line is not 100% straight based on reference. You can see it gave me this. See? Okay, and then obviously there is a problem because the line is supposed to go in, and at the moment it's popping out. So all I do is to invert it, and now it's this. And now when you connect to this, now the high map tells me, okay, that line is going actually in. Look. So now the line is going in. Once we have that, then we blend the original stuff that I have all the way here that I done, the holes and this little base. I put it together with this line on top using a blend about 100% multiply. So I'm multiplying all this line for the stuff that was nearly white, and then it gives me this. That would be that detail in there plus the holes plus the line. So now I have roughly what I think is going to be my starting point of my high map. And then what I did the small air pockets. So small air pocket, I started with sphere. Okay, you can see it roughly there in the line. There is some sort of sphere around there. I put into the tile generator, and it gave me all these little dots everywhere. Okay, and I think here in the tile generator you got the option to change this. It's quite, there's a lot of settings here, guys. I'm not gonna go through them, but you can put like a random mask and you can make it random so they're not uniform. You can see here they're quite random, but you're not able to see them. And then I took this noise, Gaussian blur. It's a matter of taking noise, guys, and play around with them until you get something. And then you put this one, warp, which what it does, it takes this dots and making that straight. Now they're making it look like little streaky lines. Okay, that using the warps, and again, guys, this is just observation on the reference and keep going back and forth until I get something that I like. Then we have that. Then I blended with other stuff that I did, which was another one with another tile generator. I think the tile generator, this one is even smaller. I warped them more, and then I blended together with that. And then I have like two sort of variations. One that are like quite long and big, another one that are really small. And then again, I took that stuff and then I blended with all the stuff that I've done so far. That will give me this. Okay, that will be all together. Look, the pockets of air, the detail of the concrete, the holes for the construction, and the line of the connection based on reference that I have, the things like this line, these connectors, these things that I've been looking at as I go along. Just observation. So again, then I did the cracks. I think the big cracks, and then I will start with a sphere. Okay, and the sphere give me. I think the sphere is very subtle. It's just this. Okay, I think this is that. It's just a sphere again. Again, the tile generator, and these ones were in a different. They're not 100% circular, so I stretch them, and it gave me these sort of lines. Okay, then I warped them using the same node. This sort of noise, I warped them, and it gave me this. You can see these lines. You see, I warped them. That with an intensity higher, obviously, and then I did the same fractal nodes, and then I do the slope warp, and it gave me it gave me this. You can see, look, something that is similar to the cracks. Then I took all this again, and then I blended with the original stuff that I have in the background. And now I have these guys integrated into everything. You can see here, look. Now you can see how you start building up the stuff. You know, air pockets, line, the dots, the scratches. Now I did a crack. Then I did something was the smaller cracks. And then I'm blending again, so I'm gonna blend that small cracks here. And then you can have, you see, you got this little cracked line. So I did that using this now called cells. I tweaked it until I got this look. And I think I cramped it up. I did the warping thing, so you see that warped. Then I put the levels into it, and then I blend it to it. And then I got this. So the blending is just a matter of how much I blend. At the moment I'm blending 100%, so you can see that I have it there. So once you have that, then you go like overall bumps. I create something that I want to make a little bit more bumpy, and that will be just simple noise. That will be the fractal sum. Then I put a little bit of levels to it, I think, and then oops. Sorry, just going really slow, my computer always up. So then I blend those pumps because everything was too perfect. So I blend those pumps into everything I have using the blend node with a multiply with a little bit of a very subtle opacity. So I will get this. You might be able to see it there, but it gave me that little bit of a bumpiness there. Then I put overall pebbles. That will be just this dirt 3. Put levels to it, blur a little bit. Then I put the levels, and then I blend it. And then it should have something in there that looks like it, but I'm just not sure you can see that. But it has some sort of pebble thing there. So again, this section here is a bit more about, this is just for putting like stones in the cracks, but I think at the end it didn't make any difference. So now that you have the high map, which is this one here, look, this is the high map. Then from there you start deriving your normal. You can see that normal here. If you want to see the normal here, then you have to take the original material, enable the normal, and now I can take, it's just a map now called normal. You connect to there. You can see now, you see that's a normal. Now it starts looking a bit more realistic because it has now the normal map. See? Before, if you disable the normal map, look, it's flat, but with the normal map, it looks more detailed. Okay, so I have normal map and high map at the moment. From the normal map as well, I can derive with a button. From the high map, I can derive up with a node called can't remember something ambient occlusion. Then again, I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna enable ambient occlusion. No, not metallic, ambient occlusion. You can see everything goes black because it assumed there is nothing connected to it. So the ambient occlusion map, it takes the high map and it gives me this, and you have to just tweak it. This is the how much depth you want, the depth, the much darker you make it, and all that stuff. And if I connect it to this, then the shader will start looking with an ambient occlusion. So at the moment it has the ambient occlusion connected to it. From the ambient occlusion, I normally create the roughness map. I forgot to label this. This is a roughness map. So you can see here the roughness map. At the moment everything has the same roughness. And this is where the majority of your issues is, guys, when I see the shader that we have created so far, is that the roughness map is pretty much not really worked out well. So at the moment, the reason this looks like that is because this material preview has a roughness of 0.25 built in. So we need to sort of gray out on to make it look varied. So at the moment, it has a roughness of 0.25 something. Oh my god, it's nearly 12. Okay, so we got this, and then what I done, I take in the ambient occlusion. I inverted it with a node called invert gradient. I put levels to it so I can vary a little bit. Then I blend a grunge map this guy. I blend it with this, so it makes sense, because I have to keep the original height map, so I have to make sense. So the things that are hidden away from the texture, they should be higher in value, which means they should be rougher because they're not being exposed. Then I put this guy here called histogram scan range. What it does, it makes the range of all the colors a little bit more evenly distributed. So it goes from 0 to 1, but a bit more distributed. So that will be my roughness map. So when I go into my shader and I enable the roughness map here, when I enable it, then I can take this. You see, because it's enabled, I assume that is 0, so everything goes shiny. So I connect out this one here. And now you see we have something that is rough and shiny in some part. Now it starts looking a little bit like concrete. Look, like the concrete that comes out just when it's quite nice and shiny, got this little sort of shiny look. I did one like this and one that is what I told you, I did one quite dry and one quite wet or shiny. And then I blend them both together so I have a little bit more variation. So I have this, you can see now it's looking like concrete a little bit. At least in my opinion. I don't know what you think, guys. But you can see now the roughness map is quite varied, you see. It just has some parts that are quite shiny and some parts that are not. So once I have that, from the actual normal, I can derive my color. And you do it by putting a node called curvature smooth, which takes the normal map and then create like a gray scale version of it. Then I took this grunge, make it smaller with a transform 2D, I believe. Then I blend it with this. You can see that I blend now this grayscale with this, just based on the observation of the material. Then I applied a high pass grayscale just to make it a little bit more even. This is another node you should explore. Then this is the one that I showed you earlier, the gradient map. So I took the gradient map and I went there and I drew a line between the gray concrete, and it gave me these colors. I tweaking, and then I got that. Now I got the original high maps with the holes, okay. And then I believe I multiply, so I know that it will be on top, and this stuff will not have. But if I don't do it, you see they look too bright. So I did what? I went there and I put on top to multiply to make it darker. Then at the moment, this has no color. It's only grayscale because it's the one that is built in here. So now if I want to use something that is a map, I take this guy, I enable the base color, and now the moment is 50% gray dark, and then I connect it to the grayscale. And then I have that. You see, now I have here colors with a little bit of a greenish tint that looks like, based on my observation, that looks like this. Okay. So at the moment, let me see the metallic of this. At the moment, this stuff has metallic of 1. You see this metallic should be. You see how this stuff starts looking funny. It doesn't look like concrete. It looks like it's actually something metallic-y. And then for this stuff here, you need to take the metallic all the way to 0. Once you do that, you see it start looking more like concrete, because now it's a dielectric. So now once you have that, then this is where we reach the point here. Look. So I reached the point here, and then I did all the stuff that I showed you before, which is this output and there, okay. And then once I have this, then I connect. I connect all the output and I'm done. Now the stuff that I did different here was this. You remember when I did the base color? The base color at the moment here has only 3 channels, red, green, and blue. But here you can actually add alpha, and there is a node called alpha merge. And what I did was I took the original line here, there, and then I did the same procedure here, and I created an alpha from there, look. And then I apply it to the base color, and now the base color has an alpha that goes through this line in the middle. So when I put here, it has an alpha. I know you want to see it here. You see, you can, yeah, that's the alpha, look. So which this allowed me to do is that I said, well, if I want to reuse this, how about I put an alpha and then sometimes I use it when I'm doing the walls. I don't use it when I'm doing the walls, but I will use it when I'm doing this. And that material is the one, that line that you saw there. Oh my god, it's going really slow. That line you see there, my goodness, going really slow. Things the recording, man. The recording is quite big at the moment. It's nearly 2 hours. That is the one that allows me to do this sort of decals in here, those little lines that are broken down. I use the same material that I did that, but this time I use that with the alpha, so I can ignore the rest, and then I don't have to import a new material for that, a new texture. I use the same texture. So let's see if I can show it to you quickly. You can see here, if I move this out, look, that is the alpha that I told you about. So instead of me creating a material for this, what I did was I created a alpha that I embedded into the alpha channel of the material, and then I use it for this kind of stuff. And there's something that come out later on. What I did is, oh, how about if I want to break down, because you see the lines are too perfect. With this, it looks nicer. So I said, well, how about I go back to my original Substance designer thing, and I create this temporarily, and I do an alpha merge. I put the original color in here, and then the alpha that I create, embed it, and then export it as a base color. And then what I did was, when I was doing my walls, I wasn't using the alpha. I was using only the alpha when I was doing the decals. And then that saved me more memory, because I will be using the same texture for tons of things at the same time. So one texture for everything, pretty much. And again, like I said, this whole thing you see here, you got like 6-7 textures. That's all it has. The rest is just making use of the resources that you have the best you can, without having to bring too many textures. So I understand, guys. This is a very brief thing that we did. We didn't do anything crazy in terms of detail and stuff, but this is something you need to start exploring. You need to start putting your stuff together, and I will guide you through this. So I advise you, look at this Substance thing that I just showed you, the link for YouTube, and then you will be okay. Okay. I'm gonna stop the recording here, because this is